not as great as it sounds. All right, so basically this week we're going to be learning about modern classroom techniques, and I'm going to take you guys through this as if you were a student, okay? So right now, what do you guys notice about the tables? You can raise their hand and tell me, what do you notice about our tables? Go ahead, Anita.
So they are, you've got to where you can have more than 10 students, however many you want to jack it up to be. They are labeled individually for different things.
Right, for different things, for different assignments. And so when your students come in, just like you guys are right now, you're all at the latent ghosting table. And there's a reason for that, because when class starts, all of my students are going to move to the table for the activity that they are working on for that day. So if they don't move themselves, what does that tell you about that student?
They're not paying attention.
They're not paying attention. So they're in that ghosting category. And so they end up staying at that ghosting table if they don't move themselves to where they need to be. And so that's my first indicator that they're not engaged in class. And so I'll go in eventually to that table and I'll say, hey, are you guys here? Why aren't you at the right table? And a lot of them quickly will move over to where they need to be. And some of them will stay at that ghosting table the entire period. I will never hear from them. They will never respond to me. They will just stay there. I will write their names down, and then I'll send their parents a note at some point during the class, letting them know that they're here, but they're not paying attention. Go ahead, Jenny. Do you have a question?
Did I have my hand up? Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so on the board, you are seeing what my students would see. Okay, so this is basically our agenda for the entire week. I call them a game board. Sometimes they're for a couple, they're usually at least 2 weeks long, sometimes even 3 weeks long. I don't usually go past 3 weeks just because then the game board can get a little bit confusing for them. But I will go over this game board in the beginning of every class period so that I can review what we're doing that week, what we reviewed the week before, and then have them move to the correct table. And then by moving to the correct table, I know if they're on pace or I know if they're behind. And so that's a really easy way for me to tell where everybody is in my class right from the beginning. And so this week we're going to be doing a lot of different activities. I'm going to try and lecture as little as possible and have you guys really just prepare to actually use this in your classroom when we come back in August. I'm going to teach you all the different things that I use throughout the school day, the school week. I'm going to teach you monitoring techniques. I'm going to teach you how to make these game boards, how to make interactive lessons, because all of my lessons, every single one, is an asynchronous lesson. So they are doing all of their work on their own at their own pace. So we'll go ahead, we'll talk a little bit more about that today. So today you're really going to hear probably the most lecturing that you'll hear all throughout the week, okay? So it should be a little bit interactive and fun. Today we're going to go over the overview of what Modern Classroom is. I'm going to show you guys how to download your lectures from last year, and then we'll have a daily reflection. So if you are here and you are present, then you're going to move yourself over to our first table, which is the class overview table. All right, very good. So you can see we got most of our students are engaged in class. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. You guys all have your cameras on, which is excellent. So let's go ahead and learn about stepping up your game with Modern Classroom. There are a lot of benefits to using this. Students work at their own pace, which I'm going to talk about why that's so beneficial for our ESE students and our advanced students. All lectures are pre-recorded, so if they miss a class, it's not an issue. Their assignments are available to them 24 hours a day, every day. So if they weren't in class that day, they don't have to go back and watch a recording. They are just going to pick up on the assignment that they were supposed to be working on that day, which may have a recording in it of a lecture, or it may be just an interactive assignment for them to do. This is a great learning strategy, especially for our gifted ESC students, just like I said, but also for our regular ed students. They seem to perform really, really well. We do agendas, just like I showed you, our game boards. I'm going to show you how to create those game boards very easily using both Canva and ChatGPT or Gemini. They're always available on my announcement pages. I'm going to show you what my announcement pages look like for my class. And we're actually going to go through how to create those announcement pages, which is essentially going to teach you how to create a website. How many of you guys have ever created a website before? Give me a little thumbs up if you've created one. Thumbs down if you haven't. Okay, so a lot of you are going to learn a new skill. Some of you might even be able to learn a new program if you've created a website before. So that'll be pretty cool. And I'm going to show you how to actually embed it right into your Canvas classroom so that they have access to it all the time. They don't even have to click into a link. It's going to automatically pop up on their screen when they log into your class. So those agendas are presented again at the beginning of every class. One way for your students to track their progress. Oh my goodness, I just realized something. I totally forgot to take my son to robotics camp this morning. Sheets. I'll have to figure that out later. All right, so they just called me on the phone. That's why I figured it out. All right, so we're going to learn about one way that students can track their progress using those interactive game boards. These are just some sample game boards that I use throughout the semester. There's some specific things that you'll notice right from the bat. So what do you notice about this game board? Can you tell me?
Does it go in order? It just, you have to
Yep,
move
it goes-
one to the other.
Right. So showing them which order in which to go. Anything else?
You don't have to do them all.
That's right. You don't have to do them all. All right. It's got the dates on there. So this is a 2-week period game board. So we start over here. It's got a starting point and it's got an ending point. And so as they're going through, they can easily see what assignments are required, what assignments should be done, and what assignments are not required. Okay. So we have what are called our must-do assignments, our should-do assignments, and then our aspire-to-do assignments. And so our must-do assignments, those are going to be the ones where you're giving them the information, just like as if you were lecturing in a classroom. So they are either going to be watching a pre-recorded lecture, either an interactive assignment, or they're going to be maybe reading some course material, stuff like that. The should-do assignments are usually going to be their activity part of what they learned in that must-do assignment. So that's their practice. That's their should-do assignment. And then the aspire to do is for those advanced learners, gifted learners that are like done with all of your work on Monday. Okay. If they're done with all their work on Monday, they're going to be obviously an advanced student or gifted student. And so what I do is I always have some aspire to do assignments posted on the game board, and then I always have additional ones because they want to rush through. They want to rush through and they want to do that aspire to do assignment as well as their should do and their must do. And they might get 100% on everything, but I always have an extra aspire to do assignment to grab and give them a link to, so that every day when they come in, they have something to do. They can't just sit there and say, oh, I don't have anything to do. Can I leave? I always make sure that I have something available for them to do. It's usually either an article for them to read, a video for them to watch, or some kind of interactive assignment for them to do. And so like the articles, I'll give you an example. I love to read the news on my phone. And so whenever I see a cool science article come up, I always save it to my OneNote. And then I'll have them read it when they come to class. So like there was one this semester where they had an article about iguanas falling out of trees in Florida because the temperature was so cold. So that was a cool article and I thought they'd enjoy it, and they did. And so that was one of them that I offered. Okay, the aspire to do assignments, Brittany, are always extra credit. So you'll see when we go through my grades that some of my students, they'll have an F in my class, and then other students will have 120%. And that's because those are my gifted and advanced learners who have done every single assignment and have done all of my aspire to do's as well. So they're always counted as bonus points. The catch is they can't be done until they have completed this must do and that should do. So it's not like kids can just come in and do all the extra credit. They can't do it until they've done that must do and that should do assignment. Yep, should do's, yes. So must do assignments are graded, should do assignments are graded. Again, must do assignments are going to be your lectures, your reading material, where they're going to actually be getting their standard-based information. The should do assignments are practice. So they're practicing what they learned in that must do assignment. So those two, yes, are always required. Aspire to do's are not required. Okay. All right, any other questions about that? I'll show you another example of a game board. This one's a little bit smaller. This is still 2 weeks worth of work. You'll see I have my must-dos right here. I have an aspire to do right here, which was the lab. I have another aspire to do right here, which is the lab. So in a week's time, they had 2 must-dos and they had 2 aspire to do's. This week, again, they had 2 must-dos and 1 aspire to do. And the number of assignments that I assign that week depends on how long the assignment is going to take. So like this genetics with a smile activity was going to take about 2 days. So that's why they only have 2 major assignments this week and then 2 extra assignments this week for bonus. Same thing down here. This pedigree chart, this is actually 2 parts. It's a video and a worksheet. And this genetics interactive, although this is going to give them practice on what they've learned in these 2 here, which is also a video and a worksheet. It's not required, but it is suggested because it's good practice. And they would get bonus points for doing this one. Yes, Elizabeth?
So I just want to make sure I understand this. So I know that this is a 2-week game board. And I know the aspire to do assignments is extra credit. So would the students do them in the order that they're in, or do they have to wait until they have finished everything before they can do the aspire to assignments?
Well, you'll notice this is a 2-week game board. So their assignments open on Monday and they're finished on Friday of that week. So during the week, they have to complete the assignments in order. So if this was week 1 right here, then they would do this one first, then they would move to this table and do this one. And then if they finish both of these, then they would start moving on over into these aspire to do assignments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yes. My failing rates right now, I just pulled them up. Let me get them real quick. So I'll show you. This was my Lolly data for my anatomy class for this year. Can you guys see that? No, let me change the screen here. So last year, my anatomy class, I want to say I probably had like a 70% passing rate. This year, I had a 97% passing rate. So last year, I used a traditional approach. This year, I used a modern classroom approach. Same thing for my biology class. I'll show you, this is my biology data for this year. Last year, I think I had an 80%, maybe a little bit lower passing rate. This year, I had 86%. I don't know why it's not. There we go. Okay, so this 86% passing rate for biology. So I definitely saw huge growth this year versus last year, switching to this modern classroom. So just to give you an idea of the benefits of using this type of program, that's definitely one of them, is having better passing rates. The game boards themselves are very easy to make. I actually use Gemini. How many of you guys have used Gemini before? That's my favorite graphing AI program to use, graphics AI program to use, because it makes really good, really colorful graphics. If you use ChatGPT, it doesn't quite do as good a job. So I would just put a prompt in and say, yeah, I need you to make me a game board that's based on this subject area, and I need 5 blank spaces in it or 10 blank spaces in it. And so this is what it would give me. Like, I put in there that I wanted a modern classroom challenge type game board for teaching, educators in a virtual environment. And so it gave me, all these different virtual things, teachers teaching kids. And I said I wanted it to have 7 spaces. So it gave me 7 different spots to write my work in. And then I just copy and paste that image into something like a Canva, a Canva slide. And then I can just modify it and type in whatever it is that I want to add to these different spots. And I'm going to teach you guys all about how to make those game boards. But I don't want you to think that is a difficult process or complicated or anything like that. It's super easy. And you only make them every 2 to 3 weeks. So you have it to last. You can go in and modify it. If you decide that you don't have enough time to do an assignment, you can go in, you can remove it, and then just repost your new game board. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about those must do, should do, aspire to do assignments. Before I do that, any questions so far? If I'm going too fast, you guys gotta tell me, just slow down, because I'm known for moving quickly. All right, no questions? All right, good. All right, so this is probably a good one to screenshot. And I'm going to show you. Oh, go ahead, Catherine.
Sorry, I was muted. So when I was looking at the modern classroom page, one of the things I noticed was that the must-dos, like the must-dos versus the should-dos, do you give a certain, wait, never mind. You're answering it now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so they do have different point values. So my must-dos, because that is where they are getting their standard-based learning, those are the ones that are going to have the most point values. So those are going to be my lectures and my reading materials, just to give you an example. And so they're going to be worth about 15 to 20 points each. Okay. So they have to be done no matter what. Even you know, even if the student is, let's say, 9 weeks behind, and there's no way that they're going to catch up, if I go in and exempt work, I'm going to be exempting the aspire to do's and the should do's, and I'm going to be absolutely positively requiring those must do's, because I have to be able to prove that I have taught them the standards. And so easily I can identify which assignments I taught those standards in. They're my must do assignments. Those are the ones that have to be completed no matter what. So they have the most point value. My should do's, since these are reinforcing the lectures, they're usually about 10 to 15 points, depending on how long the activity is. Yeah, Brittany.
Do you have the aspire to do locked, or you just like keep it in your mind when you're grading? Like, oh, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think like, gosh, how am I going to keep track of somebody submitted this aspire to do, and then I have to go back and check, but did they do the must do and the should do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to show you all of that. That has to do with trackers.
Okay.
All right. So this is definitely something that you can exempt, but only if they're really behind. Like, I don't necessarily go in and exempt should do's, because I feel like the should do's should be done. When it comes to the end of a module, though, if I see a student is really, really behind, like I said, 9 weeks behind, that is a possibility. If I have a student who is extremely ESC, which normally they should be in a self-contained classroom, but for some reason they're sitting in my classroom and the most they can manage is to get those must-dos done, then I will go ahead and exempt those. But it's a very rare thing that I would do, okay? The aspire to do's, if they don't do them, no matter what, they're exempted in the grade book, okay? Because like I said, these are really extra credit. These are for those students who are advanced that, you know, I don't want them leaving class early. I don't want them to get bored and just stop coming to class. I want them to have something fun that they can expand their knowledge of whatever it is that we're learning. And so this, I said that it's 5 to 10 points, but it can actually be like 1 point. Like if they just watch a video for me, I might just give them 1 point. And I vary it all the time so that they don't know how many points they're going to get for these extra credit assignments. So that one really just depends, you know. And then, like I said, the must-dos and the should-dos, those have to be completed first. So these have to be completed first, and I'll show you an easy way to label your assignments so that when you're looking at your tracker, you can identify whether or not they have done those must-dos and should-dos first. All right. So student monitoring and tracking. This is something that I do every day. One of the greatest benefits of this, you guys, is that I know where my students are at all times. Like every class period that they come into my class, I'm looking at where they are in the class. Like I'm seeing what they've accomplished. I'm seeing how far behind they are because I have time to do that. I'm not standing there lecturing all class period long. So that means that I have time to go into the grade book and see, oh yeah, they are on pace, or oh yeah, they are ahead, or oh yeah, look at they're like really, really behind and they need help catching up. So that's one of the good things. And we do that through tracking. So like I said, we have these tables set up and they all have specific naming up at the top. And so I can see right off the bat, as soon as my class starts and the students start moving around, that this student over here is ghosting my class or they're late as usual, right? I see that this teacher needs help. And if it's a co-talk class, I can have my co-teacher sitting in there waiting for those students that need help. I can see the majority of my students are on pace and working on the assignments for the week. I can see that I have those 2 advanced students or gifted learners that are way ahead of everybody else because they're over here by themselves. And so that gives me a good picture. And then when the student finishes the assignment, they move themselves from one table to the next. And so I can see, oh yeah, student L, they just submitted mitosis, the gene allele. So I'm going to go in, check my grade tracker, make sure that they actually submitted it. And then if they did, good. And then I can move myself over here during class and say, hey, I want to come and check on these students, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Every time I go into my tables throughout a class period, I make every single person at that table give me some kind of emoji reaction to let me know that they're still in class and they're not ghosting. And if they are ghosting my class and I don't get a reaction from them, I pull them over to the latent ghosting table. And they sit there until they either notice that they're at the latent ghosting table, or I send their parent an email, let them know that they're in class, but they're not paying attention. So very easily you can tell where your kids are. In the first 5 minutes of class, I do check my tracker to make sure that they're at the right table because they are self-placing themselves. And some of those students are like, oh, I don't want to look like I'm so far behind, so I'm just going to put myself over at this table. Well, no, I grab them right away and say, hey, you're actually all the way back here. You know, what's going on? What do you need help with? Kind of a deal. And because of the way the class is set up, I have the time to do that. Like I can spend that first, 5 minutes once they've moved, checking to make sure everybody is where they need to be. And then I can look at this and see, oh, good. The majority of my kids are together. They're working on the same assignments. They're on pace. Oh, I've got a couple that are ahead. So I need to give them I need to get ready some extra Aspire to do assignments or be prepared for that. I can see, oh yeah, the same student is always with the co-teacher, always needing extra help. That's going to be one of those students that may possibly need to have less work assigned to them. Any questions about that before I go into what the tracker is? Okay. All right, so your tracker is your game board. I mean, your grade book, nothing extra special. But I will show you why it is extra special, okay? So if you look at the top of my assignments, they are all labeled as must do, should do, and aspire to do. So when I go into my grade book, if I see that they haven't done their must do's and they haven't done their should do's, but they've done the aspire to do's, then I know that they need to go back and they need to do those must do's and those should do's before I'm giving them any points for those aspire to do's. So when class starts, I have this open already. And so I'm looking at everybody's assignments. I'm looking to see that this kid is super far behind. They're missing a bunch of work here. They really haven't done much of anything. They have a D in the class. So I'm going to make sure that they're sitting at this fertilization to birth table and working on that assignment because that assignment is worth 30 points. So I want to make sure that they get that done. And I might excuse these should do's just so that they can get that 30-point assignment completed. But again, we only do that if they're really behind. Or an ESE student, or, I mean, there's always some kind of an exception to the rule. But you'll see the must-dos are never, ever exempted. They're never exempted. Some of the should-dos are never exempted. It just depends on what the assignment is. And you'll see the grades. Look at my grades. I have some students that are getting D's. I've got some students that have 107%, 102%, 100%. So I can easily tell, yes, I definitely have some advanced students in here that are not only doing every single assignment. See, they don't have anything exempted. They're doing every single assignment and they're doing all of the aspire to do, the extra credit, everything. Now these students over here, okay, this one has a C. So they have some stuff that's been exempted. If it's an assignment that is not required by standards, like this one on STDs, that wasn't a standard assignment, but I wanted the kids to know about STDs. So I put that in there as a should do assignment. Now, if it's going to bring their grade down, or this student over here who's got like 4 million zeros, I'm going to go ahead and excuse that because it wasn't part of a standard. It was just something I wanted them to learn. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about the tracker? The students have 2 trackers. They're already in order of my game board because when I assign them, and we're going to go through how to post your assignments, when I assign them in order of the tracker of the game board. So they automatically come up in my grade book in order. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you how to do that, how to embed the assignments, how to make the assignments, all that good stuff. We've got all that planned this week.
So what's the late work policy? So after that expires, do you go in and excuse them or just give them 0? Like, what is your
zeros? Yeah. At the end of the 9 weeks, I mean, at the end of the, like when the final late work date comes around, everything just becomes a 0. I don't do any of these exemptions until we get to the end of the unit. And I say, okay, you're missing 10 assignments. And I need you to at least go in and do these must-do assignments. That's when I'll go in and I'll start saying, okay, you're going to be exempt from this assignment. You're going to be exempt from this assignment. And then I want you to do this assignment. So this might be 2 weeks worth of work, but they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 assignments. That's 3 assignments a week to do. Does that make sense? I feel like I probably, and the kids tell me that I assign more work than a lot of their other classes. But that's another thing, is that our modern classroom assignments are shorter. They're not quite, it's not going to be a 60-minute lecture, you guys. Okay. It's going to be maybe a 30-minute lecture that is broken down into 10-minute segments. And then within those 10-minute segments, you're going to have some kind of an interactive activity, which I'll teach you how to make through Genially, where they're answering questions to show mastery on what they've learned in that 10-minute video. So there might be more assignments, but they're shorter assignments. And so the kids don't, like, sometimes they can do 2 assignments in a class period. It just depends. But I find that's really good, and it's been really helping with my ESE students because they couldn't pay attention to a 45-minute lecture. Like, it was just too hard for them to pay attention in a 45-minute lecture. So by breaking it down into smaller pieces, they're able to sit there and focus. And by having them constantly answering questions and doing some kind of interactivity, it's keeping them more focused throughout the period. Yes, I'm going to show you how to create a Genially account. I have put it in the budget. I've asked to put it in the budget for next year for us to get Genially as a school. If we can't get it as a school, I am going to request that you guys, specifically the 12 of you, are able to get reimbursed for Genially accounts if you choose to do the teacher version of it. There is a free version of it. So you can start in the free version and then decide, oh, I really like this. I want to keep going with it. I'm gonna buy the teacher version. Okay. And then they'll reimburse you. They reimbursed me this year for it because I was able to show them that I've used it. I'm using it regularly. All right. So let's go ahead and take a little 10-minute break. So we'll come back here at about 5 to 11, if that's okay. Guys, get some coffee, take a stretch break.
No, mom, literally.
All right. So I know at this point you guys are probably feeling a little overwhelmed. Let's do a little reaction feeling response to say how we're all doing. Are we thumbs up? Are we thumbs down? Are we smiley face? Are we gonna have a party? What are we doing here? Okay. So it does seem kind of overwhelming at first. And what I want to tell you guys is that I am all about taking what you want and leaving the rest. Okay. So what I'm showing you, use what you can use in your classroom, use what you think you can adapt to your classroom. You know, you all are creative, so you can come up with different ways that you can make this work for you and for what you want to do in your room. So I'm not saying like it has to be done this way, but what I am going to tell you is that I am going to walk you through each step of this process throughout the week. So by the end of this week, you will have the tools that you need in order to create things that I'm talking about, in order to put them into your classroom, and in order to have everything done and ready by the time you start in August. Okay. So if you're in freak out mode, don't be in freak out mode, because I'm going to help you. I'm here to help you all week long. Okay. All right. So I wanted to show you what this actually looks like in real time. So how does this actually all work together when you're sitting in your classroom? So we're going to watch this little, it's about a 15-minute video clip of a class period. I have edited different parts out to make it much shorter. But hopefully this will help you kind of get a visual of what this actually looks like in real time, okay? All right, make sure I share the volume. So let's stop this. Share screen window. Carly, Drazen, Chloe, Alexis, Alex, and Alyssa. Thank you for logging in, Carly and Chloe. Alyssa, we're going to cover the last part of our review for our test. This part is on classification. Everybody ready for their test? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. You don't have to take it today. It's due by Friday. But those of you that are ready, you'll be able to take that today. All right, we need a few more people to log in. Let's see who is going to make it this morning. First period. Morning, Alex, Serenity, Aaliyah, welcome. Click on that link in the chat box for me so we can do our review for our test, which will open today and is due on Friday. We have covered so much material, you guys. We have covered every kingdom of life on this planet in 1 month. That's okay, Leah. No worries. All right, we're going to wait a few more minutes for people to get here. If you have not already logged into our Look at review, please do so now. Thank you, Graceland. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Drazen. Chloe, go ahead and get logged in for me, please. Everybody needs to review today. It's been a while since we covered the classification portion, so this is going to be a good review of what we covered before we left for break. Thank you, Alex, for logging in. Serenity. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Chase. Robert, go ahead and get logged in for me, please. Jackson, that link is in the chat box. Just click on that link. Linda, get logged in. Christopher, you as well, please. Got 17 people in here, so we should have 3 more people logged in. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are racing today. So, let's see who our top 3 winners are going to be for our PBIS points. Not only is this a good review, but you are also going to get PBIS points. All right, we got Jackson and Alexis in the lead. Leah and Alex not far behind. I like that little piggy. And Drazen's a fishbowl. All right, Jackson and Linda, first and second place. Looks like Graceland just made it to third. Oop, Graceland, Robert, Christian, and Chloe duking it out for third. What happened to Alexis and Aaliyah? Get in the game, guys. Oh, that was a nice jump, Carly. Almost there. Dun, da, da, da. All right. Very nice game, you guys. Good game, good game. We've got Jackson, Linda, and Chloe in our top 3 winner spots getting PBIS today. Jackson, Linda, and Chloe. All right, good job, everyone. All right, so let's go ahead and go over our announcements for today. Give me a thumbs up if you can still see my screen. All right, awesome, thank you. All right, so let's remember our expectations, be prepared, engaged, act responsibly, and be respectful. You can be engaged in class today just by answering polls, using your emojis, annotating your screen, and picking up your mic. You guys did a good job playing the game today. Thank you everyone for participating and using your emojis. All right, so announcements. The last day to turn in work for April is May 8th. A lot of you guys missed that deadline for March. Let's not miss the deadline for April. Okay, if you stay on pace, you don't have to worry about those deadlines. So make sure that you're completing your assignments on time. And turn in your assignment sheets. So many people were like, oh, I think I turned this in, but you forgot to turn in your K-12 assignment sheet. That is where you access your assignment. So please, please, please remember to turn those in. I know I went over summer camp opportunities yesterday, but I want to put this back out there in case anybody wasn't here yesterday. There are going to be summer camps available so far in Fairmont, Campbell, Kewanna, Mason, Putnam, and Wayne. Was anybody not here yesterday that would like a registration form for that? I can put it in the chat box for you. No, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. All right, so this is our game board we've been working on. This was before the break. Make sure that you have that plant cell interactive photosynthesis, plant parts adaptations, and plant reproduction. All of that should have been done at this point. This week we are working on transpiration, the transpiration lab, the homeostasis video, and then the test. Okay. So make sure that if you are ready to take that test now, meaning you have completed all of these things, you are over at my test and finished table. Otherwise, you guys need to look at your grades tab, figure out which assignment you just finished, and move to the table for the assignment you will be working on today. You do not have to take that test today if you are not finished with all of your work. So make sure you finish those assignments first. Review that test review because, like I said, this is like a month's worth of material. We've covered a lot in this last month. So make sure you look at that test review before you attempt to take the test. All right, so let's go ahead and get moved to our tables. These weren't AI generated. These are from Canva. If you don't remember where you belong, look at your grades tab, see what assignment you should be working on. Cordy, you're working on Archaea. So go ahead and move on over to Archaea. Brian, Katie, Michaela, Max, Avalie, where do you guys belong? Connor, Colton, Hannah, Adeline, open up your grades tab, see where you're supposed to be. Because right now you're at the ghosting table. Emma, Hunter, Barbie, Ryan. Miss Vyas, will you go help Ethan? Hey, Emma, Hunter, Barbie, Katie, Max, where do you guys belong? Do you need help figuring that out? Not sure what you mean, Barbie, but it's the last table, I think. Oh no, it's let me see. No, we don't have a table for fungi yet. Let me see here, Barbie. Barbie, you should be at the evolution test table. I don't have your test. Okay, Emma, Max, Colton, Hannah, Adeline. Do you guys need help figuring out where you belong? Jaden? Emma, I need your test. Adeline, you should be all right. Intro to classification. Max, you should be at intro to classification. Hannah, you should be at viruses. Jaden, you should be at Archaea. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop right there for a minute so I can answer your guys' questions. Yes, you can see how easy it is for me to keep track of where everybody's supposed to be, what they're supposed to be working on, which students are behind, which students are ghosting. You know, I've got all these kids over here at the ghosting table, but if you saw, I had a ton of kids at the other tables. And as far as your question, Sharon, yeah, with late work, I have a lot less late work because I'm able to see right away from their grade book what assignments they're missing and direct them to that table to get them to work on them. So it's pretty quick. There is a trick to renaming tables. You have to have it set to 10 kids or less. That's the only way to modify tables is if you have them set to 10 minutes or 10 kids or less. And then once you rename all your tables, which I usually have done before they even come to class, but once you rename it, you have to reset that count of students to like however many you have in your class. So this one has like 100 kids in it, but I would say maybe 40 of them show up for class every week. So I usually have the table set to about 40 kids.
Okay, that's what I was already doing that, but I was like, this is so annoying to have to go in there and change the table number just to be able to type. I was hoping you had a trick to it.
No, that's it. All right, any other questions? Somebody had a question about, they're watching video lectures. What if they have a question? I do always have this help table. Do you see where this help table is right here? Once I'm finished with my monitoring, checking to make sure that everybody's where they need to be, then I move over to the help table where Miss Buys is right now. And then they can come in at any time during class and ask questions, whatever they need help with. And while I'm sitting in there, that's when I'm sending out my emails to my ghosting kids. That's when I'm checking to see what kids are super behind. And if they're really behind, then I will pull them to that help table and talk to them about being behind, and different ways that they can catch up, which I think I have at the end of this video. So that's really a good benefit. And if you have a co-teacher, it's great because then you have somebody that can, sit there while you're doing all your other stuff and help students that need help. So let's go ahead and finish watching this. Yeah, that's fine, Emma. But I really need Emma, I really need your test first. Can you go to the evolution test table and work on that test for me? You can always go back and redo the test later, but it's a big grade, so any test grade is better than none, okay? It's titled the evolution test. Okay, last call. Adeline, Max, Colton, Hannah, Jaden, and Blake. If you are hearing my voice, can you let me know that you are still in class? Okay, Blake, where do you belong? Should be at cladograms. Okay, Connor and Brian. Ryan, you should be over at cladograms. And Connor, I need your test. So you need to be over at the testing table. Do you know where to find your test, Connor? Okay, go into your modules tab. And then scroll down to the second to last section and you should see must do evolution test. All right, thank you. Hey, Raiden, are you there? Okay. I see your grade's a little low. Do you need help with something specific? You're just behind in your work? Yeah, I moved you because right now you should be working on intro to classification, but you said you're working on the lab. What was that, the natural selection lab? Oh, okay. All right, I'll move you back over there. Try and get an assignment done every day and you'll catch up pretty quick, okay? And then for that lab, don't forget that there's a video on how to do the lab. So all you have to do is watch the video and then fill out the lab report as you watch it, okay? All right. All right, so one thing I can tell you is using this method, you get to know your students so much better on a one-on-one level because you're constantly talking to them. You know, you go in to your tables, you pull kids that are behind, you pull kids that are doing really, really well. You're talking to them regularly on a one-on-one basis instead of just lecturing at them all period long. When I was lecturing at them all period long, I didn't know who was ghosting my class. You know, I didn't know who was not paying attention, not doing their work. I just didn't. But with this method, I know where everybody's at all times. I know what they're doing. I know if they're turning in work. I'm talking to them regularly. If they're not responding to me, I put them at the ghosting table and their parent gets a notification while I'm in class. Because I have the time to do that. When you're lecturing, you don't have time to do any of this, to monitor, to talk to the kids, to email parents, stuff like that. I even a lot of times will have the opportunity to grade work while I'm in class. You know, if everybody's working, everybody's doing great, I just sit there and grade during the class period. You know, so you get a lot of stuff done this way, which is really nice. Oh, good. Yeah, so I'm gonna help you guys figure out how to make those async assignments. They do take a little bit of time, but let me tell you, if you can just do like 2 to 3 per unit, just to start, that's where I started last year, was I just made 2 to 3 async assignments per unit. And then this year I added 2 to 3 more async assignments to each unit. And by the time you're probably in your 3rd year of doing this, you'll have all async assignments for your class all set up and ready to go. And I'm even going to show you how to organize them so that when it comes to you redoing your class every semester, you're basically just cutting and pasting, cutting and pasting, cutting and pasting. There's no extra work to do, which is really, really nice. How many of you guys use OneNote? How many don't use OneNote? Give me a thumbs down if you don't use OneNote. Okay. All right. So hopefully you're not a OneNote hater because I'm going to show you how to organize everything that you create into a OneNote. Okay. I call it my Trapper Keeper. It's where I keep everything. So I'll just give you a quick preview of what this looks like. But this is my, can you see it? No, of course not. I wasn't going to go here today, but I want to show this to you real quick. Okay. Can you guys see that? All right. So this is my Trapper Keeper right here. Basically, I have this set up so that it has all of my stuff that I use all throughout the year, and it's all in one place. So for my biology class, for example, I have it separated by semester 1 and semester 2. And as I make things, all I did was I went into my class, I grabbed the pacing chart from the class, and I stuck it in my OneNote. And then as I was making my lessons for each and every single section, I just copied and pasted my embed codes, my links, everything right into this OneNote so that I have access all the time to all of the stuff that I put in this class. So if a kid says, oh, that Genially link isn't working, or whatever, a video is not working, I can just literally copy and paste these links right into the chat box and give them to them to work on. So when I go in every semester, all I have to do when I set up my class is copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, because I have it all in one section. And even some of the stuff I don't use, like it'll be stuff that I found somewhere later on, I'll just copy and paste it into here, and then the next year I might use it. So if you're not using OneNote, I'm going to help you guys set up a OneNote so that you can do this for keeping track of your modern classroom stuff. I even have all my comments in here. So when I go to grade my assignments, the kids make the same mistakes every single time, pretty much. So if I just make 3 to 4 different statements and I assign them to, I just put them in here like by a specific assignment title, then when I go in to grade those assignments, I've already got my feedback. All I have to do is modify it by putting their name in it, and then it's specialized. Or add in something specific that they did wrong. So if you can picture yourself doing this, it's such a time saver. Okay, and I'll show you some other cool tricks as far as that goes. So, message from Yoda: the greatest teacher failure is. This is like a whole new way of thinking when it comes to teaching, and it's going to be hard to grasp the concept, and some things are going to be successful and some things aren't. I've definitely made some mistakes going through this, but in semester 2 of doing this, it was really easy for me to modify certain things, the way I was doing stuff, and make it even better. So, even if you're having a hard time with it at first, if you stick with it, it will, by the time you're in your second 9 weeks, it'll be like a cakewalk for you. You'll really have it down. You'll know what you're doing, and you'll be able to, carry on with it. We are going to have mentoring sessions all throughout next year. So they have scheduled me to do 6 mentoring sessions with you guys if you guys choose to do this in your classroom, starting in August. So we'll have 2 meetings in August, 1 in September, October, November, and then again, second semester. So we can come back together, talk about what's working, what's not working, and, maybe we could give each other ideas on how to improve what's going on in our classrooms. Does anybody have any thoughts on like, oh yeah, I can see this in my class. I can see how I can modify something, a practice that I'm using right now to make things a little easier for myself. Let's talk about it.
Teresa, I did, before I came to virtual, I did a flipped classroom in chemistry. And it's similar, but you have a really good setup here and it's well organized. And I think that's the key. It's just keeping it well organized, and it pays off in dividends, not only in what they're learning, but work for you.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things was when I was lecturing, I didn't have time to do anything else. And with this format, there's so much more time in the classroom to get to know the kids, to know where they're at, to notify parents of stuff, to get some grading done. Missing out on student teacher. No, there's a lot more, Catherine, there's a lot more student teacher interaction in this. I know who my students are, I know them. And I didn't feel like that last year. I've been doing this a long time. I've been at this for a very long time. And I have to say that I know my students more this year than I feel like I've known my students in the last 10, 15 years of virtual teaching. Because I have that one-on-one interaction with them. They pick up their mic, they talk to me. They're not afraid to do that at the help table. When I come into their tables just to check on them, see how they're doing, a lot of them will pick up their mic and say, oh, everything's going great, or they'll ask questions. I wasn't really getting that last year, So I really feel like there's more interaction this way than there was before. Yeah. So it is very specific content focused. And one thing I'm going to have you do today is download at least one of your lectures from last semester. You still have access to them. And that's why I wanted to start this now, because you have access to your video lectures from last year, from this past school year. I like to instead of like just sitting here and recording a video, I like to download my past classes, because those lectures had interactions with other students in them. They had questions that students were asking all throughout those lectures. So when the kids are watching the pre-recorded lecture, it's like they're in an actual live class. You know what I'm saying? So like they're still getting that interactive class experience, but it's in a pre-recorded lecture. So we're gonna that's what we're doing next, is we're just gonna spend a little bit of time downloading some of those lectures from last semester, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. Let me see any more comments here. Yeah, it eliminated my need for TSR sessions, because I get to have mini TSR sessions in every single class that I teach. So 3 days a week, I have that opportunity while they're in class, if they come to class. If they're not coming to class, they're not going to come to a TSR session either. That's plain and simple. But I have the time to email their parents and say, hey, they weren't in class today. Or, hey, they came to class and they were ghosting. You know, a lot of times that will get them back in class, and that will get them responding to me once they're in here, if I send that message out to the parents. Yeah, Elizabeth, those tables make it so much easier to track students, because it's such a visual. I'm such a visual person that it's like, it just shows me, you know, how many kids are on pace, how many kids are off of pace. Maybe we need to slow down a little bit. Maybe we need to speed up a little bit, you know, depending on where everybody's at. And it especially lets me know who my advanced learners are. You know, so I can go in and talk to them and be like, oh, you know, I see you're really, really ahead of pace. Looks like you're enjoying this material. Here's an article on iguanas falling out of trees in the middle of winter in Florida. Want to read this? And you know what? They say yes. So it's pretty cool. All right, so if you have that attendance form video or attendance form link filled out, and you have your video downloaded, give me a little thumbs up, let me know. We are ready to do a little bit more, and then I'm gonna let you go. Okay, so I just want to give you an idea of what we're going to be covering the rest of the week, okay? So we have done our video download. We're about to do our first day reflection. Tomorrow, we're going to go over how to create announcement pages, which is basically you're going to be creating a website. You're going to be creating an 8-minute welcome video that is going to show kids how to use your classroom. And then I believe I'm going to show you how to create your game boards. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about editing videos. Okay. On Thursday, we are going to create assignments and learn how to embed them into our class. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about tracking. So how to do tracking and how to create your OneNote for organization. So those are all the different things that we're going to go over this week. So you're going to know how to create and post an assignment. We're going to go over Genially, how to use Genially to create those assignments. I'm going to show you how to use ChipChamp to edit your videos. You can do Canvas, but it's a little bit more difficult. Thanks, Mo. Shh. It's just a little bit more difficult to get those videos uploaded to YouTube from Canvas. So that's the plan for this week. And let me go ahead and get your reflection piece.